Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Back at the studio, back from the ATL. Thank you for watching. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. SEC Media Days is behind us, and now the season is even closer. Alabama will start football practice soon enough. We'll get you those exact dates coming up here on Bama Insider on our YouTube channel. I have to say, I love Atlanta. Every time that I go to Atlanta, I've always been treated really well. So if you're from Atlanta, the state of Georgia, I appreciate you guys for making me feel at home each and every time I roll through Atlanta. Such a great city. A couple takeaways from me following SEC Media Days. And as you know, you watch Saban, you watch Bryce Young, William Anderson Jr., along with Jordan Battle. My takeaways following Alabama attending Media Day, I'm not going to keep you here for a long time, but I do want to point out a couple features. And I'm going to mix in some sound from SEC Media Days, things you might have missed or things that I want to highlight. First of all, I think it's really important that each Bryce Young and Nick Saban spoke about the offensive line. And when you kind of read between the lines, and you watch Alabama football just as much as anybody does. I think we're all curious to see how this offensive line is going to come together for the 2022 season. You lost some major components from last season. And I think at times we felt, even during spring football, that Alabama's offensive line wasn't ready or isn't up to par. So I think they've had time to assess that. It's going to take some time before the first game against Utah State, before the second game against Texas, to really figure out the best offensive lineman to protect Bryce Young. Now, here is some sound of Bryce Young, Alabama's quarterback, talking about the offensive line ahead of the 2022 season.
Yeah, I'm super excited to watch them and to see this process. I feel like they've grown a lot. We have all of our three interior guys, Jay Wood, Darian E coming back, and then Seth coming back, who obviously got a lot of snaps. And then we have some guys stepping up with JC stepping up and starting to play, and then same thing with Dolph, and then now with Tyler coming in from Vanderbilt. But I really feel like it's just I think they've all been really focused. Those guys just coming back with more experience. The younger guys getting a lot more comfortable, and it feels like we have a really good change of attitude and direction. Coach Wolf coming in really has helped us. He's helped a lot. He's meant a lot to us. He's shored up some things in protection from a schematic standpoint, and I feel like he's done a really good job with those guys up front. So I'm super excited. I have all the confidence in the world and my big guys up front, so I'm excited for the year.
Now, one of the things that Coach Saban talked about was he said that they have to develop the players around Bryce. And I think that's a great point. You look to everything that Bryce Young did last year as a quarterback, commanding Alabama's offense, winning the Heisman Trophy. So when you come back into this season, you got to develop the players around him. And what he means by that is, yes, you have transfers, Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Jermaine Burton, and you have some new additions to the offensive line. Some new wide receivers, Tyler Harrell, another transfer coming in. So you have to develop those players and get them ready to contribute around Bryce. Now, I do like the running back room. All the guys that you have coming in. I would love to highlight Trey Sanders some more, Jason McQuillan, Roydell Williams, all those guys. But here's Coach Saban talking about developing the offensive players around Bryce ahead of the season.
Quarterback is a difficult position to play if the players around you don't play well, whether it's the receivers, the offensive line, the ability to run the ball, create balance. So I just want Bryce to just stay in the right mindset of what he needs to do to be the best player that he can be, and to be forward thinking in terms of the things that he needs to do to make the progress to create value for himself.
Okay, so I think going into the season, we all know that Alabama's defense is going to be absolutely loaded. According to Coach Saban, he said that they have 7 defensive starters returning. So we know that secondary is going to be fantastic. And Coach Saban talked about Eli Ricks and what he expects for him going into the season. But you look at that secondary, especially with the safety position. I mean, they brought Jordan Battle. You have DeMarco Helms coming back as well. But you look at William Anderson and you look at Dallas Turner. And yes, everyone's talking about William Anderson and his soundbite saying, when we play Texas A&M, everything that needs to be addressed will be addressed at that game. Okay. It wasn't really a slight at Texas A&M. I just think what he probably meant was, yeah, that, but also Alabama takes it one game at a time. And I know you're probably thinking that they're not thinking about Utah State. they're thinking about Texas or one of their first big games. They're not. They're thinking about the first couple of days of practice. So Coach Saban has really installed a mindset to where you focus on the week ahead of you rather than weeks down the road. He always talks about be where your feet are. But the defense returns a phenomenal set of players. Here's William Anderson, the defensive captain, um, the Bronco Nagurski Award winner, talking about the defense, the excitement coming back ahead of the 2022 season.
The linebacker core that we have at Alabama is something special. I'm excited to see it, and all the younger guys have been doing a tremendous job of learning the plays, and they're so talented. But I appreciate my group a lot because we all have the same mindset, all have the same mentality, and there's no knuckleheads in our room whatsoever. Everybody, they're 10 toes in our room. They're always alertive, attentive to detail, everything. So, and we push each other every day at practice. We want to be great. We want to be the best outside linebacker group in the nation, and we talked about that as a unit. And I think every day we go to practice, that's something that we do. We're going to go out there and be the best group on the field every game. And that's any game we play in, and that's whole college football. So that's our big goal.
Now, Coach Saban mentioned something that I think is probably going to be the most pivotal aspect of this team's overall DNA, the makeup going into the season. And I think it's a simple fact that you return your offensive and defensive coordinator going into this season. That's not something that has happened frequently. For example, I've been here covering the Alabama Crimson Tide since 2016. I've seen multiple guys rotate at the position from the DC to the OC. So when you return Pete Golding and when you return Bill O'Brien, and I get it, those guys are the scapegoats of everything bad that happens with Alabama. But what Coach Saban is saying is that continuity of those guys returning at those key positions is going to be very beneficial for Alabama going into the season. You think of Bryce Young. A lot of other quarterbacks have had to have a new offensive coordinator come in, and I get it, it's Alabama's offense. But when you have already a continuity, a cohesiveness built with your OC, I think that's going to be beneficial for Bryce, and I think that's going to help his game even develop. You look at Bill O'Brien being, former coach that coached in the NFL, coached at the highest level, and I think those two are going to continue to hone in on his game, and I think that's really going to help the offense overall. Same with the defense. You have all those defensive starters returning. Those guys all know Pete Golding. They all know the philosophy of the defense. So here is Coach Saban talking about the continuity of the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator returning for this season.
This is the first year in a long time we've had both coordinators, continuity in both coordinators, which I think is, probably a important thing for us. And the new coaches that we have brought in to replace coaches on our staff have, fit in extremely well. They made a positive contribution in the relationships they've been able to develop with players, and the energy and enthusiasm and new ideas that they've brought to the organization. So we're very, very pleased with the, staff that we have right now in terms of how they can contribute to developing, our team.
Okay, so we just talked about Alabama returns their OC and their DC. Well, guess what? And you already know this. Alabama returns Bryce Young and William Anderson. Surprise, shocker, right? But Saban was Saban was asked about, has he ever throughout his career had two of these type of players, this high caliber? Because let's face it, I mean, you could probably say that William Anderson's the best player in college football, or it's Bryce Young. Like those are the two guys that are the best in college football. Has Saban ever had those guys returning? Nick Saban said no. And he went on to highlight each of Bryce and William Anderson and really talked about each of those guys from a leadership perspective. And I think over the last couple of seasons, it's taken a while for Alabama to really develop that leadership. And I think with Bryce and Will, each returning this season, I think you're going to see that leadership come together a lot quicker, probably right away as we get into August. Here's Coach Saban talking about William Anderson and Bryce Young.
Well, I don't like to compare players, but to have two players that make such a significant impact on our team as those two guys, I don't recall ever having a circumstance like that. We've had some great impact players, but never one on offense, one on defense of, the caliber that these guys have been able to play on a consistent basis. But I think probably bigger than that is the impact that they have on the players around them. These guys set a great example They're players that other people on our team can emulate in a positive way because of the example that they set. These guys are very serving to their teammates in terms of, they really do care about helping other people for their benefit. So these guys have not only been great players, they've contributed from a leadership standpoint probably as significantly as any leaders that we've had, and we've had some really good leaders in our program and our organization. So really excited about having these guys on our team. You couldn't ask for two better people I've always said that when the best players on your team are really good people with great attitude and great mindset, it's really helpful to develop in the kind of team chemistry that you need to have a successful team.
All right, fam. Well, that's all I got for today on our latest video right here on our YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I hope you have a very productive week going into the final week of July. We're almost to August, and when August comes around, that's the college football season. So it's almost here, fam. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you so much for being a supporter, a contributor. Just all the support that we get from you guys right here on BamaInsider.com. Hit the join button at the bottom of this video to become a member of this video. And, a thumbs up goes a long way for us right here on our YouTube channel. Reporting to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Kyle Henderson of Alabama Football, Bama Insider right here on YouTube.